Okay, so food spoilages and food preservation. We have studied till now what are the various factors that affect the quality of food and how we can minimize the wastage of food and how we can increase the shelf life of food. So moving forward in today's session, we'll be discussing what is food spoilage and what are the factors which are responsible for food spoilages and how we can preserve the food, that is food preservation. So food undergo psychological, chemical and biological changes. Okay, that is a definite thing. Whatever food product that we are using, okay, whether it is cooked or uncooked, okay, they all go some kind of physiological changes, chemical changes and biological changes. So let's understand what are physiological changes. Okay, so when a seed grow onto a crop, okay, that is very small, okay, and then it gains its size, okay, so that is a physiological changes, the changes which we can see of in the physical form of the food product. Okay, so those are known as physiological changes. Okay, a tomato is very small in size when it start budding onto the plant, but it gains its size, so that is a physiological changes. Animal, okay, a poultry is in the egg, okay, and then it grows to a full chicken. That is also a physiological changes. So whether we are talking about the vegetarian product or the non-vegetarian product, all the changes which happens onto the physical form are known as physiological changes. Second is chemical changes. Every product, you know, developed itself. Okay, so those kind of changes which happens internally in a vegetarian product or a non-vegetarian product, they are some kind of chemical changes. Okay, so what are these chemical changes? You will see that a tomato which is green in nature on the plant will taste differently, and when it ripes it will change its flavors. Okay, so it will change to sweetness. So those are chemical changes. So there are various organisms which are present inside the food product, and the environmental condition, they develop some chemical changes into the product. And then the biological changes, the nature of the product also changes. So seed that is grown onto the plant, and then we make flour from it. Okay, so the wheat changes its form to the flour, so that is also a biological changes. So these all changes happens because of these various factors like microorganisms. So various microorganisms induce the changes in a food product. Sometimes the activities of enzymes present in food, they are responsible for these changes. Sometimes the insects, okay, various forms of insects, they are also responsible for the changes. Similarly, the parasites, rodents, temperature, moisture, and oxygen, light, and time. So these all factors affect the uh, the 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 physical form of a product, chemical form of a product, and biological form of a product. So we are going to discuss all these in today's session. First, we are talking about microorganisms, and these include, we know that bacteria, yeast, mold. Okay, so these are the microorganisms. Now, how these microorganisms affect a particular food product? Okay, now understand that when we are talking about food product, we are talking about the food product in an early stage itself. Okay, so all the vegetables when they are still in farm, okay, when the seeding is happening or how the growing is happening. Okay, so we are talking about at that time. When we are talking about animals, when the animal is in the fetus of the other animal, okay, in the early stages, we are talking about from that particular time. Okay, so this food cycle is not the cycle that is start from no from the time when we buy a particular food product. It is start right when the that particular food product is is growing. Okay, so from the very early stages of that particular food product life. Now, during the harvesting, during handling and processing and storage, a food product faces various microorganisms. Okay, now for example, let's take that we are growing a cereal, that is wheat. Okay, so in the fields, when the wheat is grown, okay, it faces a lot of challenges. Okay, let's say uh, there are some bacteria which are there in the soil, and they affect the wheat. Okay, they attack on the wheat. So what will happen if proper insecticides or proper care will not be taken at the time of microorganisms you know, being you know, introduced at any stage of the food product will affect the quality of food product. Okay, sometimes they will destroy the food product in the ground itself. Okay, in the field itself. So it is very important that right from the stage when we grow a particular food product, we should take care of the food product, whatever insecticides or pesticides or organic inhibitors of microorganisms, they can be used. Okay, so that the food product's quality remain intact till the time it comes to the plate of the guest. Next is food enzymes. So there are various food enzymes which are present in food product. For example, the papaya has protease enzyme, honey has protease enzyme, avocado has lipase enzyme, amylase is there in the banana and mango, and there are various other food enzymes which are present in every fruit, every vegetable, every grain, and every animal product. So whatever these enzymes are there, they will affect the quality of food. They are responsible for major chemical changes in a quality of food product. Okay, so like the enzymes responsible changes for changes in color, texture, and flavor. The ripening of tomatoes, as I explained earlier, okay, the tomato gets ripened, is ripening because there are enzymes, protease enzymes, which are present in the tomatoes. Tenderizing of meat on aging is desirable. Okay, and that happens because of the enzymes which are present in the meat product. But if it is proceeded too far, okay, sometimes we require some changes to happen in a particular food product. But sometimes if these enzymes are no are allowed to affect the food product for a longer time, then there are some spoilages that happens. The enzymes need to be deactivated by various methods. Okay, they could be that we increase the temperature of the product, or we decrease the temperature of the product, or sometimes we inactivate uh, the 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 process, the life cycle of a food product, or maybe we cook the food product. So that's how these enzymes get deactivated. So these enzymes are kind of a friend of a particular food product, but sometimes when these changes are allowed to happen for a longer time, they will affect the quality of food and will ultimately result in the food spoilage. Insects, parasites, and rodents. Okay, now it is very important that when the grains or the cereals or the vegetables or whatever fruits, okay, they are there in the fields when they are growing. Okay, we should keep them away from the various insects, parasites, and rodents. Okay, you might have seen uh, that rats have destroyed the fields. Okay, so that happens because at the time of when the food product is in the field, okay, these rats will eat up the roots of the grain, and that's how the whole plant will die, and ultimately there won't be any crop in that particular field. So and similarly flies, cockroaches, okay. So these all the insects and parasites, they feed onto the roots of the plant, okay, and on the leaves of the plant. Sometime you might have seen that a particular no, grasshopper kind of insects are there in the field, and they eat up all the leaves of the plant, and when the leaves are not there, there won't be any process of photosynthesis, and ultimately the plant or the crop will not be able to grow. So all these are very very crucial factors, and they can be avoided by the spraying of various kinds of insecticides in the fields. Okay, so it's destructive to cereals, grains, fruits, and vegetables, and it has been found that in these studies that around 5 to 50% of the crops are affected by these insects. Controlled by fumigation. Fumigation is one method by which we can stop the growth of these insecticides. Parasitic food spoilage occur in some food. Some food, no, which in which parasite attacks, and we have understood what are parasite. They feed, the parasite feed onto a particular host, and they take up all the nutrition of the host, and that's how the host food product dies and the parasite grows. Pig eat uncooked food waste. Okay, the parasite nematode penetrate the pig's intestine and find its way into the pork. This is very important. When cooking pork, we should cook it thoroughly. Otherwise, these parasites might penetrate to the human body also. The live worm can infect a man if the pork is not cooked thoroughly. Entamoeba histolytica is responsible for amoebic dysentery. Water and poor hygiene are also spread the parasite. Okay, so these kind of conditions which around the food product or the plant or the crop should be avoided. There should be clean conditions, and if required, uh, the good method of insecticides or pesticide should be used. Next is temperature. Temperature plays a very important role in the growth of microorganisms into a food product. So heat and cold contribute to food spoilage if not controlled. The rate of chemical reaction doubles. Okay, so whatever chemical reaction are happening in a food product at a room temperature, and if we increase the temperature by 10 degrees Celsius, the rate of those chemical reactions doubles up. Excessive heat brings about protein denaturation. Okay, so this you can know observe at home also. When you cook a egg, and you will find that when the temperature rises, and if you cook it for a longer time, there will be denaturation of protein, and that egg will not be consumable at a certain temperature. So it is important that whatever food product or we are cooking, we should cook at right temperature so that there is no denaturation. Excessive heat also destroys vitamins. It breaks emulsion and dries out food by removing moisture. Okay, so excess heat will remove the moisture, and that will affect the quality of food. Freezing and thawing of fruits and vegetables destroy their structure. That's why in most of the outlets it is suggested that whatever food product we should use, it should be fresh. Okay, frozen fruits are not much used by the good restaurants. They avoid thawing of fruits and vegetables because they destroy their structure. The natural structure of the food product get denaturated. Next is moisture. So moisture plays a very important role. The more there will be moisture, the more the food product is prone to be attacked by the microorganisms. Okay, the food with high percentage water spoils fast. It is a fact. You can observe this particular thing at home also. So you will see that if the salt is kept into open, and it will no, absorb the moisture, and will affect the quality of the salt. Similarly, the grains that we store at home, if the moisture is not controlled, it will affect allow development of various microorganisms into the food product. So control of moisture in food is thus very important from the point of view of their preservation. So moisture is directly related to preservation of food. And the last is oxygen, light, and time. Okay, so these three things combined together affect the quality of food. Air and oxygen bring about several changes in food components such as destruction of food color, flavor, vitamin A, C, and other food constituents. A simple example, if I give you, you cut any vegetable and you leave it in the open, you will see the changes that happens onto the food product. Okay, whether you cut a apple or you cut any other fruit, banana or guava or papaya, whatever. Okay, the oxygen is the enemy of food product, and when you allow it to combine with the oxygen, and it will affect the quality of food. Okay, oxygen is to be excluded from while processing, while deaeration, vacuum packing, or whatever. So that means that whenever we are packing a food product, okay, in the packaging industry, you will see that uh, in a packet or in a packed product, there is no oxygen. It is to be removed, and instead of oxygen, either we fill it with nitrogen or carbon dioxide, so that the food product remains as it is for a longer time period. So that is the effect of oxygen on any food product. Light destroys vitamin B2, A, and C. It also deteriorates many food colors. Okay, simple example is you will see that all the wine bottles are dark colored, and they are dark colored because the light, when it attacks onto any food product, it will affect the quality of food. So that's why most of the food product are not packed in a transparent container. They are always packed in a dark colored bottles. Food spoilage is time dependent. The larger the time, the greater the destructive influences. And of course, the longer the time period the food is exposed to uh, the, the, the bad conditions, it is prone that it will develop more microorganisms, or it will develop various toxic element into the food product. So time is very important. For what time we cook, for what time we let the crop or the food product into the field, for how much time we process the food, for how much time we cook the food. So time is a crucial factor which affect the development of microorganisms. Okay, and last we are talking about the food safety in the home. So this we have discussed earlier also. We should follow this cycle: cook, separate, chill, clean, and chill. Okay, so that's how, and ultimately we have discussed the cook. Okay, so for cooking, first of all, we should separate, clean the food product, and we should separate it, and then we chill it, and then if we require, we cook it. Okay, so that is the cycle. In order to avoid food spoilage in the home, standards of hygiene should be maintained. Personal hygiene and kitchen hygiene sanitation practice should be maintained. So that we have discussed in detail in the earlier classes. There are cereal products, okay, like wheat flour, and that can be affected by the bacteria Bacillus sarcinia, Micrococcus molds, Aspergillus penicillium. Okay, so during the field, in the field itself, these bacteria can attack wheat, and ultimately will affect the wheat flour quality. Cornmeal can be affected by various molds, which are Pharsorum penicillium, and breads. A freshly baked loaf is practically free of viable microorganisms, but mold spores contaminate during cooking and before wrapping, slicing by knives, and also contaminate. That means that bread, when it is coming out of the bakery or the oven, it is free from any kind of microorganism, but when we allow it to remain in the open atmosphere, it may develop various kinds of molds. So that why it is important, once the pack is open, we should keep it in a right temperature and in a right condition. Okay, and even while cutting the bread, the knife should be clean so that it does not contaminate the quality of bread. Milk and milk products. So milk contains few bacteria when it leaves the udder of a healthy cow. Contamination starts from the animal, especially the exterior of the adjacent. Okay, so from inside there is no contamination, but outside of the animal, the contamination starts. Bacteria found in manure, soil, and water may enter from this source. So when we are extracting the milk, okay, from the cow or buffalo or any other animal, we should make ensure that the exterior conditions are clean and hygienic, and there is no scope for the bacteria to enter into the milk. Microorganisms from milking machine when milking by hand. So sometimes the machines which are used for extracting milk are not clean, so that's way microorganisms can enter. Or when it is being done by hand, it is possible that the hands are not clean, so and that will affect the microorganisms to enter. Contamination from dairy utensils and milk contact surfaces like milk oil or milking machines, bulk milk cooler, hands and arms of the milker, flies the air around the milk parlor, and other sources like when we are transporting the milk in a tank or transferring pipes. Okay, sampling utensils, separators. So all these things, if are not clean and maintained properly, will affect the quality of milk, and ultimately those kind of contaminations can pass through the milk to the human being. Meat products are very much susceptible to the growth of microorganisms. So when we are handling meat product, no, in the poultry, in the farm, or in the kitchen or anywhere else, okay, it is important that the meat product remains segregated and they are processed in a clean environment. Molds like Clastosporium, Geotrichium, and Penicillium, bacteria like Pseudomonas, Bacillus, Clostridium, they tend to grow on the meat product, which is either not refrigerated properly or not cooked properly. So it is important that the meat product is in healthy condition and it should be cooked properly. And if not being cooked at the time, it should be stored properly at a right temperature. Fruits and vegetables. Spoilage occur during the storage transportation. Similarly, in the fruit and vegetable product also, there can be contamination. So it is important that the food product should be stored and transported in a right condition. Canned product spoilage occur by chemical, biological, or both kind of reactions, like by hydrogen swell resulting from the pressure of hydrogen gas released by action of acid of goods on the iron of the cane, time, temperature of storage, tinning imperfection, poor exhaust, etc. And biological changes may happen by the microorganisms, survival of organism after administration of the heat treatment. That means overall, when if we are not no, storing the food product or packaging the food product in a right manner, and if we are allowing the microorganisms to enter into the canned product, that will affect the quality of the product which is in the can. Okay, so that's it from my side.